Hi everyone, my name is Jimmy Smith and welcome to episode number 73 of the Rambler Podcast. We are passionate about sharing what makes Cathedral Prep the standard of excellence. Today we are honored to sit down with a true legend in Cathedral Prep history, Mr. Pat Czytuck, better known as Coach Cy to generations of students and athletes. Coach Czytuck graduated from Cathedral Prep in 1970 and his name is forever tied to Rambler football and Cathedral Prep for a good reason. With 43 years of coaching under 5 different head coaches, no one in the history of Cathedral Prep athletics, in any sport, at any level for that matter, has dedicated more years to a program than him. He is also the only coach to have been on the sideline for all 9 of Prep's state championship appearances, including 5 title-winning seasons in 2000, 2012, 2016, 2017, and 2018. After Pat graduated from Prep, he went on to Gannon, earning a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics in 1974. His first teaching job was at Cathedral Prep, where he taught math and earth space science while also coaching baseball and football. In 1980, he then joined the faculty and football staff at Cathedral Prep, where he spent the next 4 decades shaping young men both on and off the field. He coached under some of the most storied head coaches in Rambler's history, including Minna George, John Birchtold, Mike Mishler, Don Hall, and Mike Cray. In addition to his contributions on the football field, Coach Cy was a dedicated educator, serving in Prep's math department for 42 years, from 1980 until his retirement in 2022. Even after officially retiring, he remained connected to the school, working as a substitute teacher in 2023 and 2024. His impact on Prep athletics and academics have been recognized in many ways, and 2 of them including a Cathedral Prep Athletic Hall of Fame inductee in 2021 and the Erie Metro chapter of Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame inductee in 2022. But beyond the accolades and championships, Coach Cy's legacy is one of dedication, mentorship, and unwavering commitment to Prep and its students. He has influenced generations of young athletes and scholars, instilling in them the value of hard work, loyalty, and perseverance. And now that perseverance will be put to the test by Pat, because as we sit here together, he has one final game plan to execute as he competes against a very aggressive form of stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Outside of his coaching and teaching career, Coach Cy built a wonderful life with his wife, Leanne, whom he married in June 1992. He is a proud stepfather to Brian, a loving grandfather to 4 children, and a devoted great-grandfather to 4 great-grandchildren. So, Pat, we'll see how well you and I can sit together to go through this. But welcome to the podcast, Pat.
Glad to be here.
Pat, reading your bio, start to get emotional reading it, because it's what I aspire to be in life as a dad, as a husband, as a man of Prep, and impact young men and women in this world. And reading your bio, you accomplish that, and it's something that I aspire, and why Cathedral Prep has always been a place to me that is special. The dedication of people like yourself to athletic programs, teaching here. The one question people always ask me is, what makes Prep so special? And it's people like yourself. It's Bob Achille, it's Rolf Deschner, it's Joanne Mullen. It's, so many teachers that I didn't even name that dedicated their lives to this place, not just because of a building, but because of the young men and now women who are at Cathedral Prep. And of course, the great faculty members who have been at Villa Maria Academy through the years too. It's what makes it special, and you and I share a little bit of a special connection too. I grew up across the street from you too. We were just talking when I pulled in. I was about 9-10 years old before you guys moved off of Hazel Street, where I grew up. Many fond memories, and just glad to have you on the podcast again. Welcome.
Well, I remember when used to be Halloween, when your dad used to grab
Steve Hill.
Steve Hill used to grab wagons and take you guys around the block trick-or-treating. The wagons weren't for you guys. The wagons were for beer. So I can remember stuff like that,
Yeah, they had the wagons full of beer, and we would walk up and down Hazel and Maple and Poplar and Cherry Street and go trick-or-treating, and those are fun childhood memories for sure. Yeah. I remember so many good times growing up there, and of course, then I had the fortunate. I was fortunate to go to prep, and you were my math teacher my senior year. But so many good times, and I guess to kind of start the conversation with you a little bit, we'll start kind of even at the very beginning for you going to prep. Can you reflect on why you chose to go to Cathedral Prep as a student?
Well, for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. I always wanted to go to prep, so that's where I wound up. Back then, I think the tuition was $90, but we didn't have too much, and it was a little bit of a struggle for my mother to get me there. But when I got there, things were great. Had a lot of fun, learned a lot, met great friends that I still hang around with, and it was quite a crazy 4 years.
That's typically how most describe it, right? A fun, crazy 4 years, and so many good relationships that are formed and times that are made. Now, was Monsignor McDonald the headmaster when you were a student there?
Yes.
And I've heard many stories about Monsignor McDonald, Black Mac as they called him. What do you remember kind of about Black Mac?
Well, I remember a couple things. I remember that when he would walk through the hallway, it would part like the sea, and he would go through. He's a short guy, but everybody got out of his way. Boy, he was coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the legend is that about snow days, I guess he gave the students, and this is before I was there, a snow day one time, and he had to go downtown to do something. He went downtown and saw all the prep students downtown. He says, well, if they can get downtown, they can get to school. So that's when all that business started with no snow days.
Yeah.
It lasted for years and years and years. But he was quite a character, and he was very stern, and he ran that place with an iron fist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the funniest stories I've heard about it is, so my office is in the old headmaster's house, which is on West 10th Street. So many people don't even know it's there because you kind of don't see it in between the science wing and the auditorium. The legend I was always told is that the original architecture plan showed that house being taken down and prep expanding from the auditorium. But Monsignor McDonald said, you guys aren't taking down my house, because that's where he lived. So that's why the science wing bends around that house. It's because that was Monsignor McDonald's house. So once I heard that story, that's all I need to know about Monsignor McDonald to understand how he did business.
He was a character.
Are there other teachers or coaches who really stand out to you from your time?
Oh, I had really good coaches when I played baseball down at Prep. Lenny Sitersky and Tom Schneider. And the teachers were really great. Tom Freeman was really good. Can't think off the top of my head, but I had really good English teachers. I had great math teachers. Sister Gertrude was there when I was a student. Her big claim to fame was that she taught Johnny Unitas. So she used to pull out the picture every once in a while and show us
That's
a
pretty
picture
cool.
of Johnny Unitas. Yeah, but the teachers were top notch. Most of them at the time, well, I shouldn't say most of them. A lot of them were nuns and priests.
Yeah.
And then the lay teachers eventually started to roll in.
Yeah. Yeah, so many great priests and nuns have been a part of Prep's history forever in terms of their impact on the school and what they're able to do there. And it's fun to hear about those names. Some of them I recognize, and others, of course, weren't there too long, but, made their mark for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, fast forward a few years later, you do your time at Gannon, you go on to Canny Prep, but then short number of years later, here you are back at Cathedral Prep in 1980. Did you ever envision that you would end up back at Prep?
No, it was kind of a crazy thing there. Actually, what happened was that when Candy Prep closed, Minna, George, was given a heads up that they were going to close. And at the time, I think the football job was open at Prep. So he applied for that. He got the job there. And luckily, Sister DePaul was retiring.
Okay.
So I was able to move into her spot at Prep as a math teacher.
Wow.
So I was pretty lucky, I guess.
Yeah. Talk about fortunate timing.
And then the rest of it was all those years afterwards.
And what drew you to coaching football instead of baseball? Because I know you were involved with.
Well, I did coach baseball at Prep for a little bit, JVs with Stan, and I coached with your dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and but I was when I was at Candy Prep. Here's how the whole thing started. I was hired to coach baseball, and when I went in for my final interview, they said, "Oh, by the way, you're going to coach football too. You're going to get $200 for that, and you're going to get $50 to coach football. So $200 for baseball, $50 there." Added on to my $6,200 that I made at Candy Prep when I first started. That's how the football thing started there.
Yeah.
That was with George Kaufman and Jimmy Miller. Some of the older people probably remember them. And then Minna came in, and then all the way through, and then I followed him to Prep.
I love how there was just no asking you if you'd like to consider this. It was, you're going to do this.
Oh, you're going to do
that.
And if you want the job, this is what you're going to do.
That's funny. And so here you are at Cathedral Prep. Probably felt surreal for a little bit to be,
Well, it was very odd,
Yeah.
Remembering all the hallways and everything like that. And back then they had steps that were, certain steps went upstairs, certain steps went downstairs.
Yeah.
And if you went the wrong way, they had monitors that turn you around and go the other way.
Because there were so many boys in the school at the time. Yeah, they had to have like a traffic flow pattern for staircases.
Yeah,
that's right.
It was crazy.
Yeah, so you were there when there was teaching, when there was about 1,000, 1,200 boys at one point?
Yeah.
So when you started your career at Prep, I mean, did you ever envision 42 years teaching, 43 years coaching?
Well, when I got in there, I actually thought, well, this is a nice homey place. Maybe I'll stick around for a while and see what happens. And then, you get comfortable and you don't want to leave, and you wind up, the years just pass by, and that's the way things go.
Yeah. Between you and Bob Achille, you guys both got hired right around the same time, right?
Yeah, he was actually hired at Prep 1 year before I got there. But I have 5 years experience on him.
I'm sure he tries to hold that on you, right?
All the time, yeah.
Of course he does.
Of course he does.
That's too funny. And when you look back on, those 43 years of coaching and 42 of teaching at Prep, I guess it's kind of a big question, but what are some of the things that really come to your mind when you think about and you reflect on the years you've spent teaching and coaching?
Yeah, it's not so much the teaching stuff. It's normally the people that you interact with, other teachers, all the students. Of course, things went well sometimes, and sometimes they don't go so well. But you remember a lot of things that went on, and it's really interesting sometimes how you remember certain people, and other people you just kind of don't remember.
Yeah.
I know when I go out someplace, a lot of time, and this is probably pretty bad, but I go out someplace and somebody will say, "Hi, Coach Si, how you doing? How you doing?" And my wife will ask me, you know who that is? I said, no idea. Because, people, they put weight on, beards, lose hair.
That's right.
Everything like that. And you don't see them in 10 years, 12 years. And, yeah.
I've had it happen to me. Some of my, I won't say classmates, but maybe classmates of my own. I'll see, after I haven't seen in a while, it's like, I barely recognized you. It's been a little while.
I don't mean to be nasty or anything. I just can't remember it.
Yeah. That's funny. The last podcast episode that came out, Aaron Waters, class of 96, he was in town a summer or two ago, and he mentioned he saw you and Leanne out at the public house or something like that. And Aaron said in the podcast when we recorded, he's like, I don't know if he even remembered who I was, but I made sure I went over and said hi at least. And I think you guys were celebrating your anniversary. And he was like, I want to be respectful of their time together and whatnot. But it's one of those things that connects, guys like me and Aaron. Aaron graduated in 96. I graduated in 2011. We both had you as a teacher, and we both walked the same halls. We both had Mr. Achille. We both had so many different impactful people in our lives be a part of that story that connects us all. That's what makes it so special. And you've been a part of more football seasons for the Ramblers than anyone else in school history. What was it about Cathedral Prep, and more specifically Cathedral Prep football, that made it feel like home, that really made it as a special place that you were able to be at for 40-something years?
Well, obviously the kids make the program. You try to work them as hard as you can, try to get as much out of them as you can. A lot of times you'll get more out of them than they realize that you could get out of them. But it's special times when they win championships, have fun at camp. Some of those things are pretty nutty. But the way they they're good friends with each other for years and years and years, and I think that's what's special about it.
Yeah, I can only imagine the amount of stories you've seen through camp, situations. I've heard some stories, and that was kind of the more recent groups. I can only imagine from,
Well, there are some stories you'd like to forget.
I'm sure there are. And I'm sure, seeing those kids grow through the season too, from those beginning goofball moments at camp, and then seeing it culminate into the 5 state championships that you've been able to see.
It's amazing sometimes how much players grow from their junior to senior year. Their junior year, they're out there, they're working hard, but I don't think they always put everything into it, knowing that maybe they feel somebody's ahead of them.
Yeah.
And rather than try to win the job, they kind of sit back. But then their senior year, they blossom, and all of a sudden they're starting and doing great things.
Yeah. That's probably pretty cool to be able to see.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously the football program, all of prep, but, it's built on tradition and discipline and family. How do you feel like you were able to instill those values in your players over the years?
Well, I think the tradition comes right with being at the school and some of the things that we did. After games, when we were at the stadium, the vet stadium, we would always stop at the cathedral to say a prayer after the games. Lately, we have the little grotto up at the HVAC. Is that right?
Yeah. I was going to say, it's been that name has been changed so many times too.
Yeah. And it's really kind of neat when we play another Catholic school that they'll come up with us and say a prayer after the game.
Yeah.
So it's what makes the place different.
Yeah. That faith element is really what we're all about. First and foremost, that's what's the most important that we share together is our faith. And being able to celebrate that, being able to stop at the Cathedral after
Right.
coming back and beating McDowell at Vets, and being able to go to the Grotto at the event center. So many of those things are things that those kids, those players, carry with them the rest of their lives.
Oh, sure they do.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily remember the wins and losses. They remember their buddies, remember doing things, stuff like that, more than the wins and losses.
Yeah.
Because me personally, I don't even remember how many games we won last year.
Yeah.
It's out of my head,
Right.
But the things that some of the things that happened and here and there, those are the things you remember.
Yeah, certainly. And so this is a little bit specific question for your position group that you were working with, but as an offensive line coach, you worked with some of the toughest and most hardworking players on the team. I mean, you've had some just amazing players come through the program of prep football that you got to work with. What do you think are some of the elements of what makes a great offensive lineman?
Well, first of all, you have to have the attitude for it. It's a special kind of kid that will go down there and bang his head for most of practice and really not get any accolades. They have to have certain. If you're going to have a really good lineman, you have to have certain elements. They got to be big. They got to be strong. Not that smaller players haven't played and done great things, but if you're going to go to that next level, you got to have great feet, and you got to have that little extra.
Yeah. And I hate to ask you to name names, but are there any players that really stand out to you as, just, I don't want to even say some of the greats, but just some of the ones you most enjoyed coaching? And obviously they've all been great, but any players who really stick out to you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember, we've had some great players and really exceptional players. Not all the best players were always the biggest. Year before we won our state championship in 2000, Jeff Barmba was a shorter lineman that we had. He was tough as nails. He was ornery. But you saw these guys like 6'4", 6'5", all the way across the line. And here is Jeff, who was, 5'6", 5'5",
Wow.
and he held his own. So he was really one of the best I had. But like I said, not always the best players are the biggest ones. A lot of times the biggest ones are the ones that get the biggest scholarships. But other kids have been very, very good players and have received money to go to school at smaller schools and gone on to be great husbands, and and I'm glad to see them anytime I can.
Yeah. And you've been a part of all 9 state championship appearances. What was it like being on the sideline for those moments? And do any of the title runs stand out to you more than others?
Well, first of all, there's nothing like being at that game and participating in that game. I guess I wouldn't say that one. You like to say the ones that you won stick out a little bit more,
Sure.
but they're each individual games, and you kind of hate to put them together and try to compare them. But there's nothing like being in that game.
Yeah. What about the game in those moments? What did it mean to you after all the hard work you saw those kids put in through the summer? Some of them since they were freshmen and sophomores,
Oh, yeah.
right now they're seniors there. What did it mean for you to see those kids out there in those moments?
Well, they get big smiles on their faces. And
yeah.
They're doing goofy things, jumping on top of piles after the game, and it's really a lot of fun
Yeah.
to see stuff like that.
Yeah, I can imagine so. the thrill of that victory and
Oh, yeah.
seeing those boys, how hard they worked,
Yeah.
and knowing what it took for all you guys to get there. And the program itself, I mean, it's been built on a tradition of excellence, one that you're a part of instilling, that tradition of excellence and that legacy of prep football. You've been the backbone of that for 40-something years now. What do you think has been the key to the sustained success over the years for the program?
Well, as far as the linemen are concerned, I like to think that I do a decent job and make sure that everybody gets coached equally. Some other programs, they'll get their top 5 or 6 or 7. They forget the rest of the kids. And if they're out there, they deserve to get coached. I remember one year we were all banged up, and I think it was our 4th offensive tackle had to go in there, and he played a great game,
Yeah.
Overall, I think the coaches have been pretty good over the years. Try to work them hard, make them surpass what they think they can do, and try to make sure they're in good positions and their techniques are good, and that they work hard all the time. Because all that stuff, everything you talk about, it all rolls over into their life as they go on.
Yeah.
And there's times when things get tough and you gotta buckle up and get to it.
Yeah, that certainly is the case. I remember, so I only played football my freshman year. Baseball was my sport that I stuck with at prep. When I played football, I was, one of the smaller kids, but I remember showing up that summer, that fall at the McDonald's Fieldhouse, and I mean, prep football is just larger than life to me, and you're getting dropped off at practice, and you're seeing all these big offensive linemen, and I remember Joe Rumberger, he was a senior when I was a freshman, and Nathan Ehrman, and these guys that I looked up to be able to see out there. It was kind of surreal to be out there, on a similar field as them. But those that program, the excellence, the tradition, it's one of those things that Cathedral Prep as a whole is so special, because that's what we demand through all the programs of athletics and academics, and it's what made me a better man, through those 4 years of having my teachers and coaches demand that out of me as well. It's pretty fortunate to be where we've been.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So just a few more questions for you. A couple reflective questions for you now, in regards to, you're going through a tough battle now. There's things you've had a great community of people coming around you, friends and family, former players. What has it meant to you and Leanne during this time, between former colleagues, family, friends, and players, to be here for you during this?
Well, it's really very heartwarming. We've had people they started I guess they call it a meal train.
Yeah.
And they have people bringing food over. I'm getting people asking if they can stop over and say hi and stuff like that. I know we got a lot of support, and we'll do the best we can.
Yeah. When I walked into your kitchen, I mean, it's flooded with cards and flowers and tons of warm wishes from people, because I was reading the bio that me and Mish put together for you for this. I was getting emotional, as I told you. I aspired to my life to be as you have been able to do, the impact men and women to do great things in their life. And it means a lot to have had you as a teacher and to know you and whatnot.
Well, thank you.
When you think about your life and your career and the people you've impacted, what are you most proud of?
Well, I think having these kids turn out to be people that you see in the community trying to do good things. You know, I see people like James Sherrod, Tick, Hilliard, guys like that have gone on to do really good things in the community. To see players with their families, kids crawling all over them, and I think that's most important.
Football is a vehicle to teach them, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in football that they go through that they actually do carry along.
Mm.
You know, football, there's tough times, and things aren't always so nice, and you have to get going, and because you're not going to stop.
Yeah.
You know, and that, I think it teaches you a lot of stuff about family, about community, about friendships, and football is really a great game.
Yeah. And there's no doubt this podcast episode is going to reach a lot of people, friends of the school, current students, past players of yours, past students, a lot of people. For those listening, if you could give them one final message, what would you like to leave them with for that?
Oh, I guess be nice to other people, take care of your families, be good Christian people, and I think that's pretty much it.
Well, Pat, Leanne, thank you so much for having me in your house today. I love you guys. You know, the Cathedral Prep family loves you. It was wonderful having you as a teacher at Prep, and I always enjoyed seeing you through the years down at the event center when I was working there, and then coming back to work to the school, seeing you still substituting and, you know, continue to dedicating time, effort, and energy to the place that you love so much. And for those who are listening, there is going to be a benefit for Pat and Leanne as well that family and friends are putting on. It's going to be on March 9th. So this podcast episode is coming out on March 3rd. So this coming Sunday, if you're listening to it this week, from 1 to 6 p.m. at the Haggerty Family Event Center. Information on it can be found on Facebook if you look up, Benefit for Pat and Leanne Side Tech. So I did want to put a little plug in for that for people to be able to come out and support you guys. But I just want to thank you for having me in your home, taking the time to talk to me about, you know, your career, your experiences at Prep. You impacted thousands of lives, and I'm fortunate to be one of those.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Pat.